where they are, and also Canton dealing with some storms as well. So this right here, you see that really bright purple color? That's the area that we're talking about that's moving through Bradford County, spawning that tornado warning. So, but we still have storms that are going to be moving through as well. And look at all the cloud-to-ground lightning. When you see this, just know that that is a pretty intense storm system. That is moving towards Lock Haven. So if you have friends, loved ones, Lock Haven, Jersey Shore, tell them they got a pretty nasty storm that's going to be barreling down on them very shortly. Future clouds and radar. There it is, timestamp 6:30. It's over Bloomsburg. It's just beginning to move into Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. There's 8:30. Now it's over the Poconos. And once we get beyond 9 o'clock, most of this is going to move out of here. And we'll say goodbye to it. Risk, again, tornadoes, that's what we're seeing right now. Also, gusty winds with those severe thunderstorm warnings. Got to watch out for those wind gusts over 50 miles an hour. And then flooding, some downpours. Now, we talked about this scenario. What is the difference between a watch and a warning? Watch means conditions are favorable. Today would be marked conditions favorable. We have high dew points. We have a southwest flow of air. Everything's moving to the northeast. And the conditions are right with a front that's coming through. Thanks to Beryl. That's why we've got a little bit of a lift and instability. A lot of moisture, so a lot of fuel for these storms. And that's a watch when conditions are favorable. That's why we're all under the yellow. A warning means when we're actually seeing a funnel cloud on the ground or we're picking up that rotation that I just showed you on radar. So again, that rotation's up into the sky. You don't really see a funnel cloud with it because the rotation is happening horizontally with the storm. As I mentioned before, tornadoes just don't form like a finger pressing down on a map. That's not the way it works. They form horizontally and then gradually spin themselves down. You can see that if you watch like videos of tornadoes, especially when it's a flat area like out west, you know, places like Texas and Oklahoma. So that's the difference between the watches and the warnings. And then the other thing worth mentioning while we're on because of that tornado warning, blistering temperatures. These are heat indices, and all afternoon we've been around 100 degrees. And our high today was actually 92 so far. We may go above that before it's all said and done. These storms are going to be around for a while. So again, back to this. This is the reason that we're on the air. I'm going to go back to the severe weather set, back over here with Tyler. Now, this tornado warning says it's in effect until 5:30. I've been doing this a long time. I can't remember the last time we had a 45-minute tornado, right. But certainly possible. If it does keep moving to the northeast, it's going to be out of our viewing area before that 5:30 is up.
Yes, because this tornado warning does also include portions of 2 counties in New York, in addition to Bradford County here in our viewing area, which is the reason why we're on the air. A tornado, not the only concern, by the way, with the storm. It's our primary concern, but could also see very frequent cloud-to-ground lightning. I mean, we're seeing that anyway. But gusty winds in excess of 50 to 60 miles per hour possible with this storm as well. Also some small hail, definitely not out of the question here. So regardless of whether there's a tornado with the storm or not, and we do see a very strong signature that there's rotation in the storm. Yep. This is a dangerous storm, and what we want you to do is we want you to shelter, first of all, inside. If you're outside or you're driving in your car, you know somebody who's driving in your car, urge them to get inside if you can. And we want you to be on the lowest floor of whatever building you're in. So if you're at home, maybe that's your basement, maybe that's the first floor of your home, and we want you to get to an interior room away from windows until the storm passes. That's the way that you can be the safest as these dangerous storm passes through.
Absolutely. Now, the other thing I want to mention, and it is definitely worth mentioning, that storm system that spawned a tornado earlier and is now spawning a tornado now, at least believed to be, showing up on radar at least. Look at the amount of rain when it went through Tioga County, Tyler, 3 inches in a half an hour.
Which is crazy to think about. I don't think I've heard of rainfall rates that strong in a long time.
When I was down in Texas, I did, but that's when we had dew points that were in the mid and upper 70s because there was a lot of moisture, okay?
And I'm telling you, this is how tropical the air mass is that we're in.
Yes.
And when we're dealing with remnants of tropical systems, like we're dealing with the remnants of Beryl, these storms a lot of times are very different than the traditional summer thunderstorms that we see here, because they have some of those tropical air mass characteristics to them, Kurt.
Yep.
They're a lot they're a lot more likely to rotate, and we've been seeing that this afternoon. They also have very heavy rainfall associated with them as well.
So the one that we're tracking, I just highlighted some of the towns that are in the wake, or in the way rather, of that tornado warning. And that does include Sayre. So you folks up there in northern Bradford County, be aware. That's going to be moving, as we mentioned, into upstate New York. But the other storm, and we talked about this other storm in detail, is the one that's down here. And I'm going to highlight it for you. You can also see it's picking up some rotation. That's the one out here by Trout Run. And that one is moving in this direction as well. And that looks like there could be some people impacted by that one. Places like Liberty Elementary School, anybody living in or around that area, South Street School, Green Mountain School, and again, there's a Stroudsburg there as well at 509. So that's an area. I want to zoom in on that because that could be problematic as well. We always talk about storms, and we always focus on tornado warnings, and rightly so. But this one, if you look at this one, Tyler, this one's packing quite a punch itself.
Yes, and you can see with the icons on your screen there showing very early signs of rotation, and the National Weather Service in some of these severe thunderstorm warnings is also noting that they're watching the possible rotation in these storms very closely, because on a day like today, 1 minute you could have a storm that's starting to show signs of rotation, and the next minute that could lead to more intense rotation. And so that's why we want you to take even severe thunderstorm warnings today very seriously. Make sure you're inside, make sure you're in a safe place if you can, as these storms roll through, because they are packing quite a punch, not just in terms of the tornado threat, in terms of the wind threat. We're talking 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts possible. Hail, we've seen nickel to quarter size hail today, and even the threat of some flooding, especially in areas of poor drainage or along, if you live by a river or a creek or a stream that easily floods. That's something to consider as well. We saw that one report with the storm that is now tornado warned that 3 inches of rainfall fell in half an hour.
Same storm, by the way. Same storm that came through
Yes.
Tioga. I've got it highlighted right here. Again, this is going to be, watch out, Sayre, you could be under the gun. It may just miss you to the northwest, but a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning. This is the storm that we have highlighted here, are the reasons that we're on the air. This is the same one that spawned a tornado warning in Tioga County. Now it's in northwestern Bradford County, and it is gradually working its way to the northeast. So, as Tyler was mentioning, these are some of the things that we're concerned about, not only the spawning of tornadoes, but gusty winds, 50-plus miles an hour, flooding, downpours. We just talked about 3 inches of rain in 30 minutes.
Yes.
That's a deluge. And imagine being caught in that. I mean, you're talking ponding of water on roadways,
Yes.
areas with poor drainage. You're talking instant flash flooding in some spots.
And that's why we want to remind the viewers as well, at any point this evening, if you're at work right now, maybe you're streaming us on our app and then you have to drive home later, please do not drive through flooded roadways if you encounter a storm at any point this evening, because that is a very dangerous situation that you'd be putting yourself in at that point. So this is why we want you to take those precautions, take these warnings seriously. And if you are in the tornado warning right now, maybe you are watching us because you got an alert on your phone, one of those noisy alerts. They're noisy for a reason, because we need to get your attention so that you take those proper tornado precautions that you see here on your screen in just a moment.
Yeah, this is showing you the best places to go, and this is what you were talking about earlier. I just put up the graph for that. You want to be, if you're on a single floor, you want to be right in the center or in the bathtub, the bathroom, for protection, to protect yourself. If you are fortunate enough to have a den, a basement, then of course you want to go down there for sure. You don't want to be in the on the deck. You don't want to be near windows on the outside, like living room, kitchen, bedroom, in those areas, because they're just not safe. You want to be in the center part of your home or in the den. I don't know if you've ever been through a tornado before.
I have not, personally.
Down in Texas, we've encountered them, and encountered them here too, but never close up like I did down in Texas. And here, we had one a couple of years ago that went right up over the mountain right here in our backyard. It was really impressive. We had winds up to 80 miles an hour. We were just sitting here. That's back when Tom Clark was here. This is going back a number of years, but yeah, it can be really scary. When areas that are dealing with a tornado, it gets almost pitch black outside, the winds pick up. I mean, and it sounds like a freight train is on the way.
And that brings up a good point, Kurt, which is, we want you to take shelter from these, and we know there are some of you that think, you know, you might get a good view of, you know, a tornado. You want to go outside, take a look at it. Please don't do that, especially with these storms, because these storms, 90% of the time with the storms we're going to get today, these tornadoes are going to be wrapped in rainfall. If you try to go think you're going to see a tornado, take a picture of it, please, your life is not worth that picture of a tornado. And today especially, it will be wrapped in rainfall. You will not be able to see anything until a tornado is very close to you. And so that's why we want you to know today, if you get that alert on your phone, if you're anywhere within that red polygon on your screen right now, places including East Smithfield, Big Pond, all the way up through Athens and Sayre. We want you to take your tornado precautions right now. That is, again, an interior room on the lowest level of your home or whatever building you're in and away from windows. And we do mean a building. Not a safe place to be during a tornado warning, mobile homes or any type of temporary structure, or in your car as well. We want you to get to a building if you can.
And we just showed you some of the areas that these storms are moving through. See, Sayre is really under the gun there for this tornado warning. So be careful. And if you live just on the other side of the border in upstate New York, near Barton there, you're also in the path of what could be a tornado on the ground. Now, we've talked about where it's going, the time frame. We've talked about, you know, the safest places to be, safest place to be. We've also talked about, you know, what you need to do to protect yourself and family. But I want to talk about why these storms are popping up. Now, this is our second tornado warning in less than an hour.
Yes.
And the reason being is because we have remnants of Beryl.
Yes.
And we are in the wintertime, and we've talked about it before, in the wintertime we get a low passing to our northwest over the Great Lakes. It's a blessing. We get a surge of warmer air, and we get a little rise in temps, and that's typically right before a cold front or Arctic front comes in. We get that southwest flow. So this is what we're seeing here. In the summertime, it's a different scenario. It's actually worse for us to have these storms pass just to the southwest rather than right over top of us.
Right, exactly, because we're in the warm sector of this low pressure now. It's what we call it, the warm sector. We have this southerly flow that pushes warm Gulf moisture up into our area with high temperatures in the 90s today for some areas and dew points in the upper 60s to low 70s today.
Look at these dew points.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Mid 70s, 81 dew point in State College.
That's the highest I've seen out there in State College in quite some time. But this is why we had those reports of 3 inches of rain in a half an hour, because we don't normally see dew points this high. That means the atmosphere has a lot of moisture in it. So also when it rains, you get much bigger rain droplets because there's so much moisture that's collected as it falls to the ground.
And when you have days like today that are 90-degree high temperatures, the warmer the air is, the more moisture it can hold in it. And so that's why you're seeing so much rain out of these storms today. Even the upper atmosphere, the whole column of air today is very, very warm. And so these storms have lots of moisture, lots of water that can come down. And in some cases, again, 2 to 3 inches of rain reported in just a half hour with one of the storm reports here, with the storm that has now triggered a tornado warning in northern Bradford County.
So that's the one right there, just south of Elmira. We're keeping an eye on. And by the way, Lisa, I know you're over at the desk. Have you guys at News gotten any photos or pictures in of any of the storm damage? Because I know it's early.
We haven't as of yet. Again, as Tyler mentioned, we want people to be very careful. But if you are able and it is safe for you to do so, of course, you can send them into our newsroom. But as of right now, we have not received any. I know you were talking about this tornado warning in the Bradford County area. So if any of our viewers there do have pictures and it is safe, we want to emphasize that, safe for them to send them to us. Then we ask them to do that. They can do it on the app. They can email them to us, but only if it's safe to do so. But as of right now, Kurt, we have not received any pictures or videos from the Bradford County area.
Well, as you know, Lisa, our viewers are the best, and I'm sure since you just asked them for that, we're going to get some stuff. So thank you very much, and send them in to us. And the reason that we're on the air, that storm that I have highlighted right there, and you folks in Sayre, we've been giving you ample warning here. That's heading in your direction, and you want to be really careful. The entire viewing area under that tornado watch, and that just means conditions are favorable. While we've had 2 now tornado warnings, one in Tioga, now one in Bradford County, same storm system that's moving through. and it is pushing to the northeast. But we also have those gold areas you see. Those are severe thunderstorm warnings, meaning you could be looking at wind gusts over 60 miles an hour. You could have those damaging winds. You could have lightning. You could have a lot of issues going on. We go back to the radar. And, you know, I got to say, Tyler, when I'm looking at this, based off the model data that we were looking at, not only the graph, but the HER and the other things that we look at on a daily basis, the line was a little more intense. Now, that doesn't mean that this line isn't as intense, but the models played it up a little wider, a little thicker, a little stronger. This one's actually moving through at a pretty good clip. It's doing some damage, but that line does not extend all the way down into southern Pennsylvania.
Right, but one thing that I do want to point out with the models as well is the line of storms that we were showing you yesterday in Future Clouds and Radar was a bit thicker of a line, and all the storms were kind of merged together.
Yep.
These cells are a little bit more separated, and what that means is the storms aren't feeding off each other's energy. They all have their own, you know, bubble of warm, moist air to feed off of, and they're not eating up each other's energy source. And so where we do see these really strong cells, that means that they potentially have more energy to work with as we head through the next couple of hours. So it's a trade-off, but that's something we'll be watching very closely.
And you can see the towns, Chemung, Sayre, Barton, Nichols, all in the path. That's the one that is containing the tornado warning. And again, it doesn't mean that they saw a funnel cloud on the ground. It means they could have seen some rotation, as we've been showing you on our radar images. And then we have another storm system, this one down there towards just north of Trout Run. I want to zoom in on that one because that one's also packing quite a punch. You can see all of the lightning there associated with that one moving along. It looks like State Route 14 there. You can see, zoom in, there's Trout Run, Hepburn to the south of that. So we have quite a bit of lightning with this. Yeah, it is 14 that this storm is passing over right now. So if you have anybody that's out there, watch out. And then Lock Haven's getting hammered right now, too. We spent so much time talking about just the areas with the tornado warning, but these are some pretty nasty storms. And if you look, when we match that radar up with what's being sent out by the National Weather Service, you have that all yellow, which is that tornado watch, but then those two gold areas are the two areas I just showed on radar, and I know you have some updated information on those two.
Yes, we're getting in a couple of thunderstorm damage reports from the Renovo and Lock Haven areas. These reports are mainly of trees down. So specifically in the cities of Cross Fork and Glen Union, which are just off to the west of our viewing area. But keep in mind, that's where these storms previously were that are now moving into our viewing area in northeastern and central Pennsylvania.
So there are the storms right there,
yes.
Tyler, right there. That's not the tornado warning storm. That's up in Bradford County.
And these still have the ability to bring trees down, you know, power lines potentially as well. And so that's why we really want you to stay home if you can as these storms roll through, because, you know, there's the potential, again, for trees, power lines to come down, even with gusty straight line winds. Those can be a concern.
I'm going right now to the storm report page.
Yep.
Okay, there's the trees down that you were just mentioning. Okay, and let me just slide this over so we can show, and then here's the other one. That is the one, Cross Fork, trees down there as well. So we are showing that right there.
Yep.
And the area that we're talking about for the tornado warning, and again, this is right in here. This is why we're on the air. But those other storms that we were just focused on, T-Dog, do you want to go ahead and go to Max 2? We're going to jump on your system right there. Max 2 is up. Good. So in that area, that's where, again, you have the tornado warning highlighted. You also have a severe thunderstorm warning. And boy, that is, let me just look at that real fast. Athens, Sayres, Barton. I know right along the border, some of those people up there watch us as well, even though they're in upstate New York. So this is the area that we have. And let's talk again about the difference between a watch and a warning that you have right there.
Yes, so difference between a watch and a warning. A watch, which is what we've had issued all afternoon, means the atmospheric conditions are favorable for tornadoes to be forming. Whereas a warning, which is what we have right now in northern Bradford County, that means a tornado has been spotted or indicated by radar. And in these cases, all the warnings we've seen so far today have been tornadoes that have been indicated by radar. Meteorologists at the National Weather Service can look at the radar scans, detect rotation in the storm, and if they see see that there's enough rotation that they think the storm can produce a tornado, that's when they go ahead and issue that warning. So a watch remains in effect until 9 p.m. tonight. All that means is all the ingredients are there. It's more or less like baking a cake, right? You have all the ingredients you need, and a tornado warning, when that red box is issued, that's like putting the ingredients in the oven. It's imminent that a tornado is likely or could form within the next hour or so.
Yep. Now, T-Dog, if we could go back to Max 1. Thank you. We're in the severe weather set, Tyler and I, and we have all of our computers. We also have up to the minute, and I just want to, sorry, T-Dog, if we could just come back to the Weather Center. I just want to show you, this is why we had this set built. If you look just right behind me here, this is giving us up-to-the-minute information as to where tornadoes are, okay? But then behind that is a system called SLAC. The National Weather Service has this. I'm logged in right now. This brings us up to the second as to what's happening in northeastern and central Pennsylvania when it comes to severe weather, which is why Tyler was able to access some of that information. If you look over here, I'm actually on Max 1, Tyler's on Max 2, and then we have cameras across northeastern and central Pennsylvania over here. So you hear me talking to Dan, T-Dog as we call him here at the station. He can punch up different things like, go ahead. He's showing you the Williamsport one right now. So, and then we have multiple cameras across the area, and then we also have multiple computers that are keeping you and us up to date second by second, which is why we put the expense of putting this whole severe weather set together for you to make you sure that you're informed. All right, T-Dog, I'm going to go over to the wall now, and I just wanted to give them a quick run through as for our severe weather sets. So, okay, let's talk about the reason we're on the air. That tornado warning that you see right there, it's northern Bradford County right here, and it's moving pretty quickly. It's going to be into upstate New York. The tornado warning is until 5:30, but I think it'll likely be out of our viewing area before 5:30. So we have severe thunderstorm warnings. Those are the gold. So you got severe thunderstorm warning, also spawning a tornado warning, severe thunderstorm, all the other counties in yellow, they are tornado watches. And Tyler just explained, and we've been talking about that through the afternoon, the difference between a watch and a warning. Okay, so as I'm looking at this right now, and here's the area that we are watching very closely, right up in here, and we're watching that because that's what that's the reason that we're on the air, and it looks like that storm actually is going to be out of here. I would say in another probably 5 to 10 minutes. It's moving pretty quickly. It's right now on the northern edge, so that means Athens, Sayre, you folks in northern Bradford County getting hit pretty hard by this. But we're not out of the woods because we were talking about the other storms right there, Williamsport, and there's another one back here that produced that damage that we were mentioning in Lock Haven and Jersey Shore. But let's start here. Still, see that rotation? That's what Tyler was talking about. That rotation picked up on radar, and this is moving over those areas we just talked about. So be prepared. If you have family or friends that are in this area, please be prepared. Give them a buzz. Say, hey, you got a storm barreling down on you. Be ready. And then if we look downstream, or upstream, I should say, because all of this is moving to the north, we've got another system right here. There's Canton. This is just north of Trout Run. This is also showing potential for some rotation, just like this system here. And then we go even more to the south. Look at all the cloud-to-ground lightning. And this is where we had those reports of trees down. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have some power outages with this as well. I know Lisa made the call just a little earlier. These storms are new. We didn't get any storm pictures in yet, any pictures of the storm damage, but if you have some, send it in. Here's future radar showing by 7 o'clock it's now over the Wyoming Valley, and by 9 o'clock it's over the Poconos, and then it's out of here, completely out of here once that happens. So biggest risk are going to be for the high winds, also spawning of tornadoes and flooding, downpours, and some hail as well. Going to be up until about 9 o'clock. Watch and a warning, conditions are favorable. Red means there's the possibility that a tornado is on the ground and you want to take immediate action. Don't get stuck out there. We talked also about why we're seeing this, and there's a couple of reasons. It's so hot outside. Our heat indices are in the triple digits, many locations. Actual air temperatures are well into the 90s. And we hit 92 earlier for a high today. We may have eclipsed that because we had one brief shower come through our backyard, but that's about it. And there you go. So that's why we still have the heat advisories, but we have the tornado watch that's in effect. And T-Dog, if we could go ahead, pop up Tyler's Max 2 on there, and Max 2 is up. And Tyler, it looks like that's moving out of our viewing area.
Yes, it's just about to move out of our viewing area. Sayre and Athens, I still within the next 5 minutes, I would be ready for this storm to move through. But once it moves past Sayre and Athens, again, within the next 5 minutes or so, this storm will be moving across the New York border into portions of upstate New York.
Absolutely. And come back to Max 1 for a minute. I just want to show the viewers. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead. I want to go to storm reports because this is worth mentioning again. We have a couple of these storms that were out here in central Pennsylvania. Those are the ones that moved through. Now, there's three things I want to show you. First, I want to show you the initial tornado warning that was spawned in Tioga County, just south of Wellsboro. Look at the reports on this. This is from the National Weather Service. 3 inches, look at the time, in a half an hour. So, up to 3 inches of rain in a half an hour. Tyler, when you have dew points in the mid-70s, you have atmospheric conditions exactly like we have now with a little bit of lift coming through from a front, and you have these. This is a cocktail for some flooding conditions in areas with poor drainage.
Yes, and I've described, you've heard me say this analogy before if you're a regular viewer. I've described today's environment as, look, the hot and humid air mass we have in place is almost like you're pouring gasoline all over the ground, right? And then this cold front, as it moves through, what happens is a cold front acts as a wedge and it almost pushes up all of that warm, moist air, and that's what forms these thunderstorm clouds. So the cold front then would be almost like lighting a match and hitting it to that gasoline, you just pour it all over the ground. And that is why we have these storms popping up now and taking advantage of all of the energy we have in the atmosphere. What does that mean for us today? Well, it means we could see a few more tornado warnings over the course of the evening. That's certainly not out of the question. But with any of these storms, it means gusty winds in excess of 50 to 60 miles per hour are possible. Small hail, not out of the question. Very much heavy downpours. And again, Kurt and I have been talking about the report we saw earlier of 3 inches of rainfall in about a half an hour or so. That is an extremely intense rainfall report, and that is why we're concerned about flooding potentially in areas of poor drainage, also along rivers, creeks, streams, areas like that, Kurt.
Now, we are, there's Max 2 you're looking at there. That's showing where that tornado warning is. And we just showed you where they're just beginning to come in. And I want to bring Lisa back in here. Lisa, they're just getting those storm reports in, like 3 inches of rain in 30 minutes, Lisa. That's crazy. Any reports yet on your end, people sending in photos or sending in info on storm damage?
And I'm just thinking, Kurt, I know in some instances, people don't get 3 inches of rain in a month.
Yeah.
So in a half hour, I mean, that's just an incredible amount of rain.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. That's why we were talking about the potential for some flash flooding. That was one of our criteria that we talked about, flash flooding there. And our viewers, you mentioned it before, our viewers are great about sending in photos. We've been going on now for well over an hour with this tornado warning, and I'm just wondering, we had one earlier in Tioga, one in Bradford County, if you've heard anything from our viewers yet.
Well, we haven't as of yet, but I do imagine that we will be getting in some pictures and or videos from our viewers, as you mentioned. Of course, we want to stress and emphasize the importance of only taking a picture or recording a video if it is safe for you to do so. You heard Tyler and Kurt both mention the amount of rain and the wind in the area, so we don't want you to risk doing anything that isn't safe to get those pictures and videos to us. But if you have some that you want to share with us, of course, you can do that, sending them to us via email or on our app. There's a section called Near Me, and you can click on that and just send us the pictures or the video that you may have as we continue to watch this. Because as you both mentioned, it's not just the tornado warning and the possibility for a tornado, but many of these storms have strong wind, and straight line winds can do a lot of damage.
Absolutely. You're doing absolutely right, Lisa. Straight line winds do a lot of damage. You can see that's one of the main concerns. And the National Weather Service, again, talked about this yesterday. It was just the northern tier that were yellow. That would be a level 2, slight risk. Well, obviously, that came to pass. We ended up with 2 tornado warnings, one in Tioga, one in Bradford County. But 90% of the damage caused from storms in the summertime like this are straight line winds. And we can see wind gusts over 50 miles an hour. The downpours leading to some flooding and tornadoes. possible, we could also see the potential for some hail. I want to talk about the timing of these. They're moving through pretty quickly, Tyler. And if we look at our time frame here, it looks like up until about 8 o'clock, eastern Pennsylvania could be looking at some of these storms. But it does look like it's coming down in the Williamsport area once this initial line goes through.
Yes, once the initial line goes through, and we're already starting to see clearing back behind the front in central Pennsylvania, portions of, for example, western Center County now, you're beginning to clear out back behind these storms. So once the storms roll through for your area, and we're beginning to see portions of this in central Pennsylvania now, it's beginning to clear out a little bit. But still, in eastern Pennsylvania, we need to be prepared as these storms roll through over the next couple of hours. Kurt and I will be here keeping track of the storms for you. Remember, you can always get severe weather alerts from our WNEP app as well, which is very important. We'll alert you if you're in a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning within the next few hours, as this line of storms, which is associated with the remnants of what was last week Hurricane Beryl, now rolling through our area. And it's amazing how a few weeks ago this was dust off the Sahara Desert, Kurt. And then it was a hurricane, and now it is affecting our area as a low pressure system with a cold front that bringing some storms to us.
Absolutely. T-Dog, put up that live footage of Williamsport. Can we go to the Williamsport camera for a second? And the reason I'm asking you to do that is because you may be in the Williamsport area and you may be outside right now, and it looks nice. You got the sun shining, you got the blue sky. Now, if we could, T-Dog, let's go ahead and take my Max 1, please. And I want to show you what's heading in your direction, because it looks like it's beautiful, and it is right now. But you've got some nasty storms that are on their way. They've already hit places like Lock Haven and produced trees down, and they're going to be moving through the Williamsport area. Jersey Shore, get ready. They're knocking at the doorstep right now. And if we look, the reason, again, that we're on the air is that storm that's up there by Sayre. I mentioned earlier, Tyler, it looks like it could just be northwest of Sayre, and that's exactly what's happening here. Sayre's getting something out of it, but not a direct hit. I want to zoom in. You can see the rotation with that. And let me just move down. So Chemung taking the direct hit, while Sayre just getting grazed with it. Barton, some heavy downpours happening there, but boy, it's really coming down in Chemung right now. Ashland is going to be getting hit pretty hard as well. Here's the bigger picture. Looking back, there's Williamsport. And if we look upstream, I'm going south, but all of this is heading in our direction. So Beaver Springs may just miss out, but this is all moving in this direction here. So we're going to continue to monitor this. If you're just joining us, we have a tornado warning right there, northern Bradford County. And Tyler, it looks like this storm is pretty much out of our viewing area. You can see that particular storm, the one spawning the tornado warning right there. So just the tail end of it over northern Bradford County. But there's more storms upstream.
Certainly, within the next few hours or so, we'll be seeing new storms pop up. We just had an update to a few severe thunderstorm warnings, and we've been seeing severe thunderstorm warnings over the course of the afternoon as well. The potential with these storms about to move into the Williamsport, Trout Run areas, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, small hail, and localized flooding are not out of the question with any of these storms that we're seeing here. So these severe thunderstorm warnings, which are on your screen here in the yellow boxes, which now it looks like has just been extended in portions of Lycoming County here. Williamsport, you are now under a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm going to put this up here. This is for western Lycoming County until 6:15. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts is the concern with this storm. So radar has also indicated that this storm is showing very early signs of rotation, and that's something the National Weather Service noted in their text here. So if we pop a tracker on this is moving northeast at 40 miles per hour.
Yeah, these things are moving really fast. T-Dog, go ahead and put up Max 1. I've got the tracker there. So there it is. You can see Jersey Shore 526, Williamsport 550, 555 in Trout Run, and then Stroudsburg. We mentioned that before. Not the one in eastern Pennsylvania. There's another Stroudsburg in central Pennsylvania, and they are also under the threat for some strong storms that are moving through that area. The other thing I noticed too, Tyler, a lot of lightning with these. We've seen them on there. When we show you the radar and you see the lightning bolts on there, that's called our lightning Well, our radar with attributes. So it'll show you hail, it'll show you rotation, it'll show you lightning, and it's just like a much better feature. Because, you know, we were talking earlier about our own Doppler radar that we used to have on Penobscot Mountain, and the technology in radar now as compared to what we had 25 years ago. It's just night and day.
Right, and the technology in radar that we've gotten in the past, 20 years or so is outstanding. Now we have what's called dual polarization radar, big fancy word. Basically what it means is meteorologists can see much more than just the traditional radar that we're showing you right now. And one of the innovations that came out of that new radar was the ability to look and see the direction of wind within a storm. And that is how these radar-indicated tornado warnings are being issued by the National Weather Service. And that's also how we can see that wind gusts within a storm are reaching 50, 60 miles per hour, even if it's just straight line winds. And so that's another radar feature that we're keeping a very close eye on. But you can see very heavy rainfall in here, lots of lightning as well. And lightning itself can be a very dangerous thing if you're, outside at all. So we want you to be inside. If you can get to an interior room away from windows, that's your best bet. Even if you're not under a tornado warning, even if you're only under one of these severe thunderstorm warnings, as these storms roll through, you'll begin to see that we've seen reports previously of wind damage, of flooding. So that's something to keep in mind, Kurt.
That green arrow indicates the tornado warning. That storm right there, and it's still showing rotation on the radars. We're looking at it right now, but I'm showing you this wider picture because you can see we're not done yet. Just because this tornado warning is going to expire in just a couple of minutes, we're not out of the woods just yet. We are talking the potential for it. We've already had reports of trees down. We've had reports of 3 inches of rain in 30 minutes. And you can see back towards Beaver Springs. I just want to move this one down a little bit. Back towards Beaver Springs. Let me back out of that. There we go. And down towards Beaver Springs, as you can see, the State College area. Yeah, that storm is also going to be moving towards Logington. It looks like it'll be just northwest of Mifflinburg, but areas like Logington are going to be in the line. Also, Williamsport, that's heading in that direction. And you know what's going on right now? The Lycoming County Fair.
Oh, yes.
That's the second largest fair in our viewing area, and that's happening over eastern Lycoming County. So let's just look at that storm down there. Let's go back to Max 1 for a second, please, T-Dog. And that storm system, yeah, there's Muncie Creek. So we're talking about the fair. In case you're wondering, there's Hughesville. That's where they're having the fair. I'll be there, Ranger and I, next week on Tuesday the 16th, having some fair fun as we continue with our fair season. But some of these storms that you're looking at on there are actually heading in that direction. They are moving in this direction here. So that means eastern Lycoming County, where they have the big fair going on right here, is also, let me circle that again, right here. This is where we have eastern Lycoming County and the fair. So these are heading in that direction. So if you know of somebody who's at the Lycoming County Fair, you may want to tell them, hey, be prepared. Those storms could move in your direction here over the next hour or so. And that storm that's in northern Bradford County, that's pretty much out of our viewing area. And I'm just wondering, guys, did we get some more of those photos in, or did we not, Lisa?
So as of right now, Kurt, we do have one that we have, and we could share that with you. And this is actually, if we're able to punch this up for you, this actually is from the Lock Haven area, and there is a downed trees on Renova Road, and this is from Carly. Carly, thank you so much for sending this picture in to us. I understand that we are working to share a video that someone has also sent to us. But before we go back to you, Kurt, I do want to share poweroutage.us is a resource that we sometimes use in our newsroom, and you can see Tioga County, where we had that tornado warning earlier. We now have almost 250 customers there without power. So you mentioned the lightning and the possibility for power outages in Tioga County right now. We know there are at least 240 homes and businesses without power. But we want to go back again. Thanks to Carly for sending in this picture. You can see the downed trees there. Again, this is Renova Road in Lock Haven. You just mentioned that the line of storms was moving through there. So we will continue to refresh this. And as we get in more pictures and video, of course, we will share that with you.
Yeah, and Lisa, I just want to mention now, you showed that picture right there.
Yes.
If we could go to Max 1 real quick. That's the storm system right there that downed those trees and created all those problems. So the flood warning, or I'm sorry, the tornado warning has now expired. We don't have another one right now, so we are going to send it to a commercial break, and Lisa has a lot more news to get to, and she wants to pass along. So just bear with us. We'll go to a break, and then Lisa's coming right back right after the break. And I was trying to bring you into the...
Hello, hello.
So I'm